Hello, I'm Dr. Drew Bogner, President of Molloy College, and I'd like to welcome you to the Public Square 2.0. In this program, we will be bringing you some of the great faculty that currently teach at Molloy College. They will share their insights on subjects that we hope you will find both entertaining and enlightening. Today's speaker is Jamie Cohen. Jamie is the Program Director of New Media here at Molloy College. Today, Jamie will be speaking about viewing virtual reality. We're so pleased he could be with us today. Please join me in welcoming Jamie Cohen.
Do you guys happen to have a love-hate relationship with technology? Like you really love technology, but you hate how you have to keep upgrading it? Well, I'm here to talk to you about very new technologies that have come out, specifically about the technology of virtual reality. Today I want to talk to you about virtual reality for two reasons. One, I want to speak to you about becoming a savvy user and making sure that you're purchasing the right thing. And in that way, also being a savvy consumer of these products. So first, it's very important for me to explain to you, what is virtual reality? We hear that term passed around all the time, and it's very new, and we hear it a lot with newspapers, and we hear it on TV, but not a lot of people actually know what it is. Virtual reality is a headset-based viewing device that allows you to look in a 360-degree viewer space. Literally 360 degrees, from your feet to the sky, everywhere you want to look. So wherever you turn your head, that's what you're looking at. So imagine that in this talk show setting. In a normal talk show setting, you'd be sitting in a couch and sitting and not really moving anywhere. You'd be looking at a screen that doesn't move. And when you look at that screen, someone else is in charge of that video. Somebody else switches between the cameras and allows it to have control over what you see. And you don't turn your head, you just look straight at it. In a 360-degree space, it means wherever you look is what you're looking at. So you could be looking straight ahead at the guest, or you could be looking around and seeing the cameras, or you could be looking up at the lights. Wherever your head goes is what you're actually looking at. It's one camera instead of three cameras, and allows your head to be in control of it. The reason why this has become so popular is that over the last few months, we've seen this blossom inside the industries. One of the biggest ways is in November, the New York Times sent over 1 million Google Cardboard headsets out to their subscribers. Inside of this, they had subscription-based content that came with it. Some of the content provided was journalism stories in 360 degrees. One of them was about the Paris terrorist attacks, one was about the Syrian refugee crisis, and one was a very neat special about looking at New York City in 360 degrees. There's also a Mini Cooper commercial because, well, they have to have commercials. So during the holiday season that passed, we didn't just see virtual reality, even though that's what we're going to be speaking about. We also saw a boom of other technologies like drones and exploding hoverboards. The hoverboards weren't actually supposed to explode. That's just what happened. But what's important is that we know that the fascination with virtual reality has begun. But it hasn't really just begun. We think of it as a just beginning technology because it's something that's become popular in the present. But virtual reality actually has a long history of technology in virtual immersive spaces. Virtual reality story starts in the mid-1980s. It started when a group of video game engineers got together to think about how to put you, the gamer, inside of the video game experience. The problem is that technology that happened at that time was huge, bulky, and expensive. It also made a lot of the users very, very nauseous. So it wasn't allowing people to really use it from an all-access point of view, and this became too much at the time. Over the course of the next decade, into the mid-1990s, parts of virtual reality appeared and disappeared and hit its last peak around the time of the Nintendo Virtual Boy, where you could literally put your face into the game unit and look at the games as you were playing them. And then it started dying out. The tech wasn't really keeping up with the need of the audience. And then, in the early 2000s, social media. That was the technology at the time. Social media comes out, and people are more interested in following that rather than anything else. And so people weren't really thinking about those emergent techs. When social media became something that people were all used to, new technologies were being developed at a very rapid pace. In the early 2010s, in the teens, an independent company coming out of their garage put together a product known as the Oculus. They crowdfunded it. And what crowdfunding is when people get together to help support a product that's brand new. And the Oculus Rift was born. What's amazing is 2 years later, after this had been developed for $2 million, Facebook purchased the product for $2 billion. So it shows you how important this product was, that out of nowhere, the Oculus Rift was invented and then purchased by Facebook. In that development, we see that these new products are now going to be very popular. because from 2014 to present, that everybody's trying to get in on that game. Most recently, the Samsung VR came out. The Samsung VR is a very fancy headset that allows for a phone to be placed inside of it. This is a $99 headset that sold out overnight in November. Within the coming year, virtual reality will be developed with HTC, Google, PlayStation, and a bigger Oculus unit that has already come out. These new products are coming out very rapidly, and different products and different companies are trying to get in on this game. But along with having virtual reality as a headset, we also have to remember that people have to shoot virtual reality. They have to record it. There's got to be technology in order to do so. Those range wildly. At the lowest end, there's something like the Ricoh Theta. It's a very small device that allows you to shoot in 360. In the mid-range is the GoPro 360 kit. That needs multiple cameras to be synced together in order to create one 360-degree view. This is an actual 360-degree camera. And I call it camera singular, but it has actually 6 cameras attached to one another. Now, with all of that tech coming together, we also notice that you have to be able to view it. Facebook and YouTube are now showing virtual reality video feeds as you go through the timeline. So you could also see that as you go in there, if you just type in 360-degree video into Facebook, you could go and look at them. Now, you could look at it by clicking on your mouse and dragging around, or you could go on your phone in the headset and actually look around the video anywhere you'd like. So that's a new technology that's becoming welcome inside of social media sites. Now, as a new media teacher, I'm obviously concerned with new media technology. I'm concerned with what we do with it. And some of the concerns I use inside of classrooms are how do we tell stories in a 360-degree space? So I'm always considering what type of story is being told in here. What are the cameras? And I don't just mean the technology of the camera, but what does the camera actually do? We have to remember, when you use a 360-degree camera, you're thinking about a human head. This is a person's head. So now how do you shoot when thinking about somebody's head looking around? So this is one of my concerns with that. Beyond that, now how does the audience interact with that video? Once you're looking at the video, what are you supposed to be doing with it? Where do you look once you're inside of that? So those are the types of concerns of storytelling themselves. And most importantly, how do you make it creative? How do you make it different and unique? But the one thing that I think we're not talking about, and the thing I'm here to talk to you about, is data. The data that comes from this. So what is data? We hear that term all the time, but we don't really think of what data is in a digital space. We have to remember that data is something that is part of the user experience, text, images, and the collective engagement all together. It's a lot of material all at once. Most products cost money, but then in some way they're transferring some sort of data, whether that's video to you or video away from you. And when we think about that, we have to understand that if you're not paying for it, like we don't pay for Facebook, it means in some way they're making money off of our data. It means when we use it, we're submitting data to them so they can resell it to make your customized experience better. They can sell that to companies who send you personalized ads. It becomes in that very quick way. This is done through algorithms. Algorithms are not Al Gore's rhythm. They are pieces of code that get together to customize a very small experience. But when we ask that question, what about data? It becomes very important to how we use virtual reality. Because these new technologies are exciting. They're cool. We want to get involved with them. But if we get involved too soon, we're not thinking about what's taking from us. What experience is that? We have to remember that Facebook, the way it works, it collects data from its users. Did you know that Facebook watches you watch videos? So while you're watching your timeline and scrolling down, if you stop on a video and let it autoplay, it's watching how long you watch it for. It's watching if you made it full screen. It's watching to see if you put the sound on. The more videos you stop at, the more likely you'll see more video in your timeline. That's Facebook customizing in a very live way. That's the algorithms in action. It actually does that in real time. But that brings us to a very weird question. Why would Facebook want a virtual reality headset? What would be the need for a social networking site to have something that you could wear on your face? Well, that's the importance of data. There's 2 methods of data tracking. One is called immersion, the other one's tracking. And I don't mean immersion by putting a headset on your head and looking around in it. That's truly immersive. Reality is truly immersive. Wherever we look, we're in an immersive environment. But Facebook wants to be immersive. It doesn't want you to leave the site. The algorithms change in such a live manner that it causes you to scroll infinitely, non-stop. It doesn't want you to leave. And many users don't leave the site. They stay on it for a long time. But then we have to think about tracking. And that's important when it comes to video. Because when people are able to look anywhere, where would they look? And how does that help Facebook's goals? So let's revisit the scenario of this is a talk show. Let's pretend you're watching this show in a virtual reality headspace. So you're now looking around with your head and looking at things. Most viewers would be looking directly at the host. But now with the opportunity to look anywhere, if you're really into the technology, you could look at the cameras. If you're really into the lights, you could look up at the lights. But what's most interesting is that people who have put into virtual reality spaces have turned around and looked at the audience. And they've seen them and wondered what's going on there. Now, by looking at the audience, imagine how much more data Facebook can collect about the user. Now they could see everything they want to know about what the person is looking at, what they're interested in. Because instead of looking at a square that's a video, now they're looking at the user and where they look. But it's very important to keep in mind that this is all part of a temporary technology. When we look at virtual reality headsets, we know that this isn't something that's going to be there for a very long time. These are like what I would call a mid-technology. There's something that shows us what's to come. I mean, remember Laserdisc? That was a product. People had them, and now they're no longer there. In a world where people are looking at headsets, we have to look at the downsides of them. There's accessibility issues. Cost is one thing. These are not cheap. This may be a $99 headset, but it needs a $500 phone to operate. Accessibility issues like glasses. I can't see it. So if you don't have the accessibility of that, it's very difficult to use. User training is also a part of it, and compatibility with computers. These are all parts of a changing technological environment. So what I think is important is, while we move into the future, to think about what's coming next. I think the next thing that this leads to is something called augmented reality. And augmented reality is, instead of stopping at the lens, it looks directly through it, directly into a world where it's being interpreted by a lens in front of you. We'll enhance it with graphics and items that you could see in real space. This is part of the Internet of Things, which are devices that exist non-connected to a computer, but partly connected to the Internet, like the Nest thermostat. And when you think about the Nest thermostat, it's very important because it tracks and helps you learn how to work with your temperature in your house. But Google owns that. Why would Google want to own that? Because if you put the temperature up a lot, it knows to put up ads for coats. And so it thinks that all the way through. So the most important thing that we have to consider is that if we are not paying for it, we are the product. But even if we are paying for it, there's some way of this data being transferred in one way or another. Being a savvy user and a savvy consumer is a very important experience for us to move into the future because it's extremely exciting. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Drew Bogner, and I'm here with my guest, Jamie Cohen, Director of New Media. Wait, I don't think I can actually see you. So, as you know, we were just talking about 4K reality, but this really isn't live. But I think you kind of get the general idea. So I was really fascinated by the conversation, and certainly I like technology to a point. And I've been one of those individuals that's purchased some technology at the wrong time. Was discussing how I had a beta player, which actually was a better technology than VHS, but it didn't quite make it. Mm-hmm. And you know, I've seen other kind of technology come and go, but I was really fascinated with the conversation you were having about not only this particular technology, which I've actually used. I've been out to Canon. We have on Long Island, we have the Canon America's headquarters, and they actually have a product of virtual reality that you can use, and you put this on, and then you can actually customize your copy machines by looking in through this, or you can customize a car by looking at, you know, what's the color going to buy in the wheels and so forth. So it's fun and it's clever, but I'm not sure how useful it is. So how do you decide, you know, if you're thinking about technology, where you are in the life cycle of technology and whether it's the time, you know, should you buy one of these now, or should you wait for the augmented reality, or should you buy, you know, a 3D monitor, or do you wait until the 8K comes out and then
Well, I think
You
that's
won't
a
need
really
it?
good question. I mean, 3D is a great thing to bring up because 3D technology came out and it had a quick rise and then a very quick fall. It was too much like television. It was too much like its previous use. This device, I think, is fascinating and wearable, but at the same time, because of its accessibility issues, I don't know if it's something we should buy into just yet. But this leads us to the technology of augmented reality. So it really is the stepping stone for newer media or newer technologies that will come out in relation to its base, its shape, and everything.
So I guess part of it is if you find it cool and interesting right now, you buy it.
Yeah, if you have the money and you have the access, absolutely you should get it because I really think it's a cool device for entertainment value. I don't see it so much as something that's a long-lasting technology.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But part of when I think about technology, I think about what does it allow me to do that I can't do currently?
Oh.
And is there actually any product I would want to use with it? So, as I looked at, getting a 4K monitor, I'd say, well, so where am I going to find 4K quality video?
Right. Of course.
To be able to play on that?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be able to stream that? Well, probably not sure.
Not yet.
Not
no.
yet.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'd have to invest in faster surface, probably,
of course,
greater
yeah.
bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think about, so it might be there, but how much would I really use that technology and how much does it enhance my life right now?
I think right now, in computing, I think it's very important. I think for gamers, I think this is one of the best inventions ever made. I think if you're a video gamer, having your head be the camera is much more important than having the toggle on the controls. As far as watching video, I think it's mostly novelty. In the case of being inside of a race car or being in a plane or a helicopter.
Sure, I can understand that.
But for otherwise, it really doesn't have much more of a placement than a 4K television at this point for video. But for gaming, I would say it's one of the best inventions.
Well, no, I can understand that, and we're talking, in some ways, this is an example of a broader conversation.
Right.
So, and I can understand that, and I'm not a gamer. I have no time for gaming. But I can see for some people that would be a wonderful idea and concept and so forth. But, so if you were trying to make decisions about technology in your life, how do you arrive at decisions about what technology makes sense for you?
I think it comes down to need. I think when you're upgrading your computer and you consider all the peripherals or all of the things that you use it currently for, I think a lot of things attach to that. Many people are very happy with just using their computer, their mouse, and their monitor, but many people don't feel that's enough of a way to interact with their content. And I think when Facebook is trying to put through more 360 videos and much more content that requires immersion, that's when the need comes where you feel like you're missing out.
Yeah,
and I think
right.
that's very peer-based as well.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate that. That's why I guess I was thinking about how does it enhance your life and what your needs are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, which really connects to that, is how you arrive at that point of believing you have a need.
That's what social media is about. The way that social media works is that peers tell you what to purchase. And so social media is really about an act of FOMO, we call it, a fear of missing out. And so it designs a way of somebody else has it, and they're getting an experience that you're not having. So the need actually appears. It's not a true need, but it's actually something that is inside of your friend's experience that you have to be a part of in order to feel the same way.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in that. And do you think there's a generational difference that way?
I think in a way there is, but I don't think so on Facebook. Facebook is even across the board for all generations, mm-hmm. But I do feel like when it comes to more experimental technology, I definitely think it's a generational difference.
Probably so, and I probably would agree with that. But that idea that you don't want to miss out, I don't see as relevant to any particular age group more than another. Right? Is that what you're saying?
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, but exactly the actual piece of technology might vary, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I find that be kind of the interesting life cycle of technology in a way, that we know that technology, we know there's always new technology coming. We always know when we buy something there's some kind of obsolescence built into it.
Of course, yeah.
And we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But how aware are we of this fact that we are actually a part of the design of that technology as it's rolled out? So in other words, that it's already designed that this is a step to some other level of technology.
How
transparent is that and insidious is that?
Yeah, I believe that that's I think the intent there is that we shouldn't ever know that it's middle technology, because otherwise we would skip it. So I think they last quite long enough in order for us to adopt it. Then what they do is look at how people are using it. There's ways to what we call creatively misuse these products as well. And so people may use it for alternate reasons. That goes back to the engineers who adapt on that use style and then put it into the next product. So without us actually adopting this technology, there is no real next technology.
Well, let's talk a bit about something you were really focusing on at the end of your talk, and that's really this concept of that if you didn't pay for it, you're the product.
Right.
So that idea that there's really a dual intentionality to the technology you might purchase or use, and that is, of course, we have an intentionality of what we want to do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the person that manufactured and sold it or licensed that you purchased to be able to access, use the technology, has other intentions.
That's correct.
What intentions do they have?
Well, not to plug something of my own, but my book that I co-authored called Producing New and Digital Media, Your Guide to Savvy Use of the
That's
Web.
okay, it's a talk show.
Yeah, so
we're okay with plugging.
I'll plug that, because the book is really about that concept, that if you produce new media, and if you are using new media, it's one of the same now. So new media require us to use and participate in as well as view. So I think it's very important for people to understand that while they're using it, they're participating in that environment that helps new content become something that is watchable. We made media off of ourselves. It's a different time than any media time in history. In previous media, you were the receiver of the content. Today, you are collective in that environment. You have to participate, otherwise it will not work.
So your participation, just so we understand that, both helps shape your own personal usability of it.
That's right.
But also it helps the provider of that to make decisions on what is marketable, sellable, and usable.
That's right. We're at a time where the collective person has become the uniqueness to the engineer on the other side. So they see the collective environment of users and adapt on that.
Okay, so let's just talk about what that is. It's not necessarily a customization to help you,
That's right.
but also a customization to do what else?
To help somebody who is similar to you. So it's
Not to sell things?
It's always to profit in some
Okay,
way.
thanks. So just making sure we got
oh
to
yeah,
that
but
in
if
a
we want
way.
to make sure, this is all about making sure the experience of advertising and consumption is helpful to everybody. And it really is about an experience that streamlines advertising to the user.
So you really need to be aware of that. And most of us never read those little agreements.
Oh no, I doubt
that
that. Very
say
few
that
people
you
actually
agreed to
do.
those things when you signed it. But you know, to me, this has always been such a fascinating conversation because technology moves so rapidly that we're always learning to adapt to what's in front of us.
That's right.
So any last comments you want to make to our viewers about technology?
I think it's important to participate in it. I think it's not just important to purchase it and try it, but I think it's important to create. I think most users will just consume the media. I think it's very important to get in there and actually make new media as well.
Well, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you being with us. So we've reached the end of our time, so this is the end of Public Square 2.0, and I'd like to thank Jamie Cohen for being with us to talk about technology.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.